What is going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video. And boy, oh boy, I'm really frustrated right now. I am really frustrated with the comments that have been displayed by one James Cameron. So this is kind of going to be a rant. But you guys pretty much should know already what I'm going to get at right now. So, for anybody who doesn't remember, back in 2019, we had the worst film in cinema history, right up there with Dragon Ball Evolution and Last Airbender. Yes, I would put it in that class. Maybe not as bad, but still, it would be right up there. Because Terminator Dark Fate was by far the worst abomination of a film in the history of cinema, bar none. I would put it with some of the worst films that have ever been made. Like I said, Last Airbender, Dragon Ball Evolution comes right to mind. I would put it with those films. That's how bad Dark Fate was. Okay? They literally suffered a dark fate with the makings of Terminator Dark Fate. Pun intended. James Cameron, the creator of Terminator, had the audacity a couple of days ago to give an interview and basically say that it was our fault. So basically, he was basically saying it was our fault, that we weren't real Terminator fans if we didn't go see Dark Fate. Which is kind of the dumb shit that Tim Miller was trying to sell back in 2019, when no one wanted to go see this film. Once the teasers came out, the leaks came out about John Connor being killed, which, bar none, was the worst decision in Terminator history. John Connor is the leader of the Resistance. He is the person that everybody wants to see lead the Resistance to victory, because this is what we've been told the entire time. I mean, most people have been wanting to see a Terminator film where they basically show when John Connor goes back to 1984, or I'm sorry, not him, Kyle Reese goes back to 1984. You know, when John Connor basically talks to Reese and Reese volunteers and goes back to 1984, which essentially starts the Terminator franchise. Okay? People have wanted to see that movie for years. Not this abominational shit. And James Cameron basically went on and not only said that he felt that Dark Fate was a great film, but he also then went on to bash Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton. He basically said that it was their fault to why the movie didn't work, which is a load of fucking malarkey. Okay, first and foremost, everybody loves Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton. No one has an issue with them. That was probably the highlight of the film, if anything, is that they were being brought back. Okay, the reason why people didn't want to go see this film had nothing to do with Linda Hamilton or Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's the fact that the film was an abomination and that the film flat out sucked. And they killed off, again, the whole echelon of the franchise in John Connor. And they literally, for months, tried to sell the idea that John Connor was in the film and that he was not dying. I remember this. I remember all these stupid articles that Tim Miller and Cameron were trying to put out. Okay, that they were trying to put out, oh no, he's gonna be back. Eddie Furlong's gonna have a better role in the film. Bullshit. It ended up being all a lie. The leaks were real. And everything was real, and they tried to keep it a secret because they knew nobody was going to like the film. Also, if there's any more further evidence of Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger not being the problem, just look at the recent film that just came out. The film that everybody is talking about right now in cinema, still, even though it's been out since July. I'm talking about, obviously, Deadpool and Wolverine. Best film easily of this year. I honestly don't think any film that comes out for the rest of this year is going to top it. Even my film that I'm waiting for, Venom 3, which I'm obviously very much looking forward to Venom 3. But I don't even think that film is going to be able to top Deadpool and Wolverine. Box office numbers and audience feedback. I just don't see it happening, even though I really obviously love Venom. And of course, I'll be somewhat biased to Venom. But I don't see it beating that movie. That movie was just so epic. But getting to my point here, Hugh Jackman coming back. Like what James Cameron basically said by saying that Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton was the problem, that is the equivalence of saying that Hugh Jackman is the problem to why a Wolverine film wouldn't work in this day and age. That is the equivalence of what he's basically saying, okay? Is that someone who's synonymous with the franchise is basically the reason why the film didn't work. Which obviously, again, we know is a bunch of malarkey because we see Tobey Maguire come back, Andrew Garfield come back in the Spider-Man film, right? A couple years ago. That film made over $1 billion. And now this year, of course, Hugh Jackman comes back as Wolverine in Deadpool Wolverine. Obviously makes over $1 billion. Actually does even better than the Spider-Man film. My point being is James Cameron is full of shit, okay? When he said this. And honestly, even though James Cameron is the creator of this franchise, I would argue he doesn't understand his own creation anymore. He really doesn't. I mean, he's also done interviews before where he doesn't want to make any movies with guns in it. And supposedly he's making a new Terminator movie in secret, involving AI and shit like that, which probably going to make it even worse for him by making a film like that. By the way, James Cameron, you've already been beat in that front because we got a show called Megan. We got a movie called Megan now that revolves around AI and stuff like that. Granted, that's a horror flick, but I mean, your original... Well, actually, no, I take that back. All the Terminator movies were rated R, right? So yeah, no, it's even worse because we have a freaking... Yeah, it's a different genre. It's action. But still, we have a freaking horror film that takes a place in AI. So again, not a brilliant idea, but basically what he wants to do is he wants to do a full-blown reboot of the Terminator franchise. Not a soft reboot. He wants to do a full-blown reboot with new actors and everything. And that is just insane. Because you cannot do a Terminator film without Arnold Schwarzenegger. The one time they did try to do it while Arnold was governor, it didn't do so well. I did like the concept of it though, but it didn't do well without Arnold. And it also bankrupted the company that was producing the Terminator films at that time. So yeah, not a good idea to do it. I really think James Cameron should sell the company because I think it would be better off with someone else doing it. Even though James Cameron was the creator of the Terminator, I respect what he did for the first two films, but I think we need someone else. And I know what you're going to say. Well, there's been many other people that have been involved with the Terminator franchise besides James Cameron after T3, after T2. But I would argue that a lot of those people were better than James Cameron. Well, not the first two films, obviously, but I would argue they were better than him than what he did with Dark Fate. All right, to all the people that crap on the other movies that came after T2, you look back at those films and they really weren't that bad. And I've always defended Rise of Machines, by the way. I always thought Rise of the Machines was a great movie. I mean, maybe you guys just don't like that they just kind of did the same chase sequence with T2. But if you're going to play that logic with T2, then T2 to T3, then you have to play that same logic with T2. Because T2 and T1 were a chase as well. Like, T1 was a chase. It was a chase. Terminator was trying to get to Sarah Connor. T2, Robert Pattinson's T-1000 was trying to get to John Connor. Same format. It was still a chase sequence. It was the same format. Okay? So everyone that says, oh, Rise of Machines just copied James Cameron in T2, James Cameron copied his own fucking goddamn T1 with the sequel. Okay? You know what I'm saying? So, that's really irrelevant. Okay, that's an irrelevant logic. Okay, now, Rise of Machines was a very good film, and I would argue that Arnold Schwarzenegger knows about the franchise better than James Cameron does. Because for anybody who doesn't know, Rise of Machine was mostly thought of by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay? Arnold Schwarzenegger had a lot of creative control for Rise of Machines, more than he probably should have, but he still had a lot of say in what happened. I mean, he even had a contract, and this was leaked, by the way, so you guys can go look this up. But this was leaked years ago. Arnold Schwarzenegger pretty much had all say when it came to Terminator 3 Rise of Machines. He had a big-ass contract, which arguably was used for his campaign to run for governor the next year. But that's irrelevant. He basically had a guaranteed contract where if the film was never made, he would still get paid all that money. Like, it was literally his contract. You can literally look this up. This was leaked years ago, the terms of this contract in Rise of Machines. And he basically forced them to have it in LA over Canada, Vancouver, Canada, which is a cheaper production to do it in. But he wanted it in LA. He wanted it local, where the two previous films were done, which he got his wish because they couldn't do a film without Arnold, because Warner Brothers would only support the film if Arnold was there. So pretty much he had say on the venue. He had say really in the casting choice. For anybody who doesn't know this, the TX was essentially created by Arnold. Arnold Schwarzenegger was the one who wanted a woman lead to be the TX, or to be the villain Terminator. He wanted the villain Terminator to be a woman. That was always what it was called for in the script. Okay, he wanted it to be that way, and of course they ended up getting the actor that they got, who did great. And then Catherine Brewster, who was another strong female character in Terminator 3. For all this bullshit about Dark Fate trying to create powerful female characters, James Cameron did a horseshit job, okay, at it. Okay? Arnold Schwarzenegger created two powerful women characters in Catherine Brewster and the TX, the villain of Rise of Machines. So I would argue that Arnold Schwarzenegger was a better creator at James Cameron's Terminator creation than James Cameron himself, because those were his creations. He was the one who wanted a woman Terminator in the third film. James Cameron had no involvement in T3. Okay? He had no involvement in T3. Arnold picked the director. And obviously the director did have a lot of creative choices that he did for T3. But it all went through Arnold. It was, make no mistake about it, Rise of the Machines was Arnold's film. Okay? That was Arnold's Arnold Schwarzenegger's film. Okay, he had a lot of creative say in that film. Okay, but a lot of those things worked. I liked a lot of those things he did. I liked the Catherine Brewster storyline. Like, the idea of, John Connor having a wife that, was like the healer and the person that helped in the resistance and stuff like that. I liked that. I thought that was a brilliant idea. And I wish they would have continued the Catherine Brewster character. Okay. Again, the TX was another great, brilliant storyline. So, the way I see it, I say Arnold Schwarzenegger should be the guy who comes up with the more ideas, because some of his ideas were brilliant later on. Okay. Now, when they did Terminator Genesis, which was another good film, I mean, it wasn't as good as T3, but I think Genesis was a lot better than a lot of people give credit for. They actually paid homage to the original films. Okay, to the original films that James Cameron made. But yet the audiences, it was, they barely broke even on it, which is why they decided to go in a different direction. But they went worse with Dark Fate. At least with Genesis, they fucking tried. At least Genesis, they tried to keep the Lord alive. Even though they had to turn John Connor into a villain. But at least still that idea made sense. At least that idea made sense, because John Connor was always the reason why the Resistance couldn't win. The Terminators couldn't win because of John Connor and the Resistance. So it made sense that they would turn him into a Terminator. And have him switch sides. So as much as I didn't like that they did that, it made sense chronologically. Okay, why wouldn't the Terminators want to not get the guy who's always beating him on their side? Still a hell of a lot better than just randomly having John Connor be killed off. Like they did in Dark Fate. Okay? So I would argue that Arnold Schwarzenegger is a better guy, is a better person at making ideas for the Terminator, because I obviously it wasn't all him in Terminator 3, but I'm just saying a lot of the creations he came up with for T3 were far better than anything that James Cameron came up for in Terminator Dark Fate. Obviously, James Cameron did great in T1 and T2, not taking away from that because they were better than the stuff in T3. But what has James Cameron done since T2? What has he done since T2 to make the Terminator films better? Nothing. All his recent stuff that he's done for Terminator has sucked. He doesn't know how to make strong, powerful women characters, except for ones that are dumb and don't make sense. Oh yeah, we're going to kill off John Connor and have a woman be the leader of the Resistance just because we have an agenda for this reason. Stupid. It's a stupid idea. Okay? And again, his statements about guns, that he doesn't want guns in his movies anymore. Like, how can you make a Terminator film without guns? Like seriously? They're Terminators! Okay? That would be the equivalent of like 4 kids censoring the guns out for the finger pointing of doom. That is essentially what James Cameron is saying. Not to bring Yu-Gi-Oh into this, but that's essentially what you're saying. You're basically saying that the Terminators are going to be able to take him out with the finger pointing of doom from Yu-Gi-Oh. This is some dumb shit right now. I want James Cameron, if he hasn't already done it already, to sell the franchise to either Arnold Schwarzenegger or someone close to Arnold Schwarzenegger, or someone that's just knows these type of films better, because James Cameron does not understand his own franchise anymore. He does not understand it. He does not understand what the fans want. This is more of a, oh, this is what I want, even though this is not what the fans want, and this is not what the fans want to spend money on. You have abandoned your principles. You have abandoned what the fans want. I mean, hell, most of the fans want you to do, like I said at the beginning of this video, a future war film where it leads to Kyle Reese going back in time to 1984. Okay? They want to see that film. That's what people have been wanting to see for years. You know, but this whole idea that, and again, you know, pretty much every film other than Terminator Salvation, which was a futuristic film, by the way, future war film, but outside of that film, every goddamn Terminator film was a chase. You had your villain Terminator and you had your hero protector trying to protect the victim that the Terminator was trying to go after. That's always been the format for every goddamn movie. And yet, Dark Fate is the only one. Even if you don't like T3, or you don't like T4 even, okay, Salvation. Even if you didn't like those films, or even if you didn't like Genesis, all those films still made somewhat of a profit. They still made, even Genesis. Genesis' profit wasn't that big, which is why they decided not to make a sequel of Genesis. But Genesis still made a profit. They still got something back. Okay, Dark Fate lost a shit ton of money. They're the only film that lost a shit ton of money. Okay? Facts on facts. Okay? James Cameron, please sell the franchise to a more competent person. Please sell it to someone that actually understands this franchise, because you don't understand it. And that's kind of hard for me to say, because I usually always want to stick by the original creators. But you clearly don't understand your own franchise anymore. If you are trying to alienate the fans that have been supporting Terminator for years, you're alienating the fans that actually care about this franchise. For what? For people that aren't going to go see your film? Critics, audience receptions did not like Dark Fate. That's facts on facts. So, nobody wants to see your film. We want to see John Connor, not some bullshit of some random woman that's now, like, magically the leader of the resistance when it should have been fucking John Connor. Like, this is fucking stupid. Like, how is this even a debate at this point? Give that franchise to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger will shape this thing up. That's what I think. Either him or somebody that's more competent. I mean, at this point, maybe Kevin Feige needs it. Like, I mean, Fox is owned by Disney now, right? So, maybe just give it to Kevin Feige at this point. Because at least Kevin Feige knows how to do, like, source material shit. I mean, he's done it with Marvel. Maybe give it to Kevin Feige. Maybe Kevin Feige might be able to fix it. I don't know if Feige's ever watched Terminator films, but I mean, he's done robot stuff, you know, in the MCU. So, you know, like, fucking give it to somebody. Give it to somebody that at least will actually try to revive this franchise instead of just putting it more in the pit of despair, because that's literally where it's going to be. If he makes another film like Dark Fate, it's not going to work. It will not work. Nobody will go see it. it will be a colossal failure. And then what's going to be your excuse, Cameron? What's going to be your excuse then, James Cameron? Oh, this and that, makes more excuses in the world instead of just pointing the finger at himself. Because that's what you should be doing, Cameron. You should be pointing the finger at yourself to why the film failed. Because you wrote Dark Fate, okay? Tim Miller had a lot of influence with the film. He directed it. But it was you wrote it. And the fans did not like it. And it ruined Tim Miller's career. It ruined Tim Miller's career because Tim Miller was on the rise because of the Deadpool film. I mean, that's why he got hired in the first place. He got hired because of the Deadpool film. He directed the first Deadpool film. But, of course, him and Ryan Reynolds had created creative differences, and that's why he departed for Deadpool 2, and Ryan Reynolds did it with a different director. Where he had more control, but then he went on and did this film, and the credibility for him getting this film was because of Deadpool 1 and because of how much money that made, and he ruined his career because I don't hear anybody talk about Tim Miller anymore on directing, and it was because of this film. James Cameron, you ruined Tim Miller's career, because facts on facts. I mean, he had to defend your crap. He had to defend your shitty script of this Dark Fate film. And it sucked. And so he had to suffer for it. Yeah, this whole thing, ridiculous. Arnold Schwarzenegger or someone else should to do this film, revive it to the way James Cameron originally envisioned it. No more of this stupid bullshit that Cameron's doing. I don't know what he's thinking anymore. But that's what I gotta say. Comment, rate if you like this video, my videos. Please subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. And I'm out of here. I am the S Ultimate Goku, and I'm out of here. Peace.